And then he talks about cast these Egyptians down, which means black, or guttos, black. Cast these Egyptians down and make them, this is what they say, basically turn them into slaves. Scatter them all across the earth. Then it says, even when they rise up again as a smaller nation, they will always be a nation up under nations. Who the hell is that but us? We see that in our lifetime. Some fucking slant-eyed bastard or some shit come over and treat you with a heavy hand. Some fucking Hakadamai motherfucker from Arabia treat you with a heavy hand. So we are a nation up under nation, including our own people. The most despised and rejected on the planet. So it tells you in the book of Ezekiel, in the Tanakh, might be also in the regular book of Ezekiel, there will be a nation up under nations. But they say the Pharaoh is the face that moves upon the water. And what that is, so they're telling you that Leviathan is the face that moves upon the water, and you think of that as a satanic energy. Then they say that the Pharaoh is the face that moves upon the water, but the Pharaoh has the Uraeus crown, which is the serpent. Leviathan is the great serpent. The Pharaoh is the great serpent. The Kundalini energy inside us is the great serpent. You see what I'm saying? But this God talks about how I will kill them, and they will be my enemy, and I will kill them over and over. And I'm like, well, goddamn. What does these people did? What did these people do for the God to turn against a people like that and hate a people like that? From Exodus to fucking Revelation. What did he do? What did we do? You know what I'm saying? And basically they say they caused sorcery. But because we are a group of people that don't study the origins of things, and we thinking some witchcraft and shit like that. If you study the origin of things, the sorcery that the Bible was talking about is these Egyptians worked with alchemy, which is the study of melanin. So from Genesis of the Adam and Eve, don't eat the tree of knowledge, don't eat from the tree of knowledge. And the tree of knowledge is this. What is the tree of knowledge? The tree of knowledge, number one, the God in Egypt, the God of knowledge in Kemet. The God of knowledge in Egypt is Tahuti. The staff of Tahuti is, your, what you call it, symbol. They will give you the tree of life that they talk about in the garden. They say, eat from the tree of life, but don't eat from the tree of knowledge. The tree of knowledge is the staff of Tahuti. Is the staff of Tahuti. This knowledge that they're talking about, gnosis, comes from the inner knowledge and wisdom of alchemy. But even the Kabbalah, they show in one of them, they show a serpent going up the tree. It's alchemy. So they say don't eat from this tree, which is don't tap into the pineal gland. And they tap into the pineal gland and they saw. They bit the apple, dog, and they saw. So they say that they cause sorcery, which means that there's a group of gods that didn't like the fact that we figured out the mysteries of the universe and figured out the mysteries of melanin. In the book of Enoch, it says that Azazel, what did he do? He taught them how to work with stones and roots, which is talking about the stones is in alchemy, the roots and all that stuff. He taught them the knowledge of melanin. In Greece, Prometheus stole the fire from a tube, this is the tube, and taught them, gave the man the gift of fire, which is the knowledge of the Kundalini energy, which is the knowledge of melanin. So what we have what we have over and over and over again is these gods are against melanin, and this is the point we need to get into right now, because this is very key. Because you have to go to the Rigvedic material and get the mystery, get the Hindu myths by Wendy O'Flaherty. O'Flaherty is her name. O'Flaherty. Hindu myths by Wendy O'Flaherty. O''Flaherty. Excellent scholar from the University of Chicago. Now, the reason why we're dealing with this Vedic stuff now, because this is older than the Christian model. It's even older than the Greek model. And the reason why we want to deal with this right now, because the Egyptian thing, although it's being older, we don't have the older model. It's in fragments. If we go to the Babylonian stuff, it's in fragments too. The only one of the oldest model in the world of this older stuff that predates, let's say, 3,000 years, that's intact and there's enough of it, is the stuff from the Rigveda, the Upanishads, and the Mahabharata. But the Rigveda is the oldest of those particular ones, and that shit comes straight out of damn Egypt and Ethiopia. You see what I'm saying? So you get a sense of some of the oldest stuff. And remember, I talked about the last time that the oldest stuff on the earth is called Typhonianism, but we don't have enough of us in fragments. I have located some of the Typhonian elements in this Rigveda. But she has two things. She has a Rigveda out, O'Flaherty, and she has Hindu myths. Get both of them. The Rigveda and the Hindu myths. Excellent book. She has some other books out, but these are ones that shortcuts and stuff. Now, the key of what we're trying to make here is this, and her conclusion is that these gods up here, and I told you before that, these gods in actuality are our children. We are older than these gods. These gods overthrew their grandparents, and that's in the first chapter of the, book, that Titan book I put together. They overthrew the grandparents, which is the Titans. And we are the Titans, Typhon, Leviathan, Leviathan. It just means pre-creation deities, which those pre-creation deities were destroyed and turned into humans. And the blood in us is the pre-creation entity, which is melanin. So the gods are against this melanin, which is also called Sama. It's also called Mana in the Bible. Called Sama in India. So these gods are against the melanin, you see. In India, they got a god called Virtra. Real terrifying dragon. Also a form of the great mother, Tiamat, Newt. And but in this thing, he's a female, a male. They just, they do that sometimes, indicating the power. And this particular entity gets destroyed. And the Sama, which is melanin, is, when he's destroyed, his body is crushed into Sama. And Sama becomes the lifeblood of us. You see, which the gods need sacrifice, and they need the energy from the Sama to survive. So let me get into some of this on what's going on here. O'Flaherty comes to the distinction that in actuality, heaven ain't good at all. As a matter of fact, her conclusion is that heaven is some of the most ruthless fucking devils known to man. The same heaven-ass people and shit. This is a top scholar at University of Chicago, translating Sanskrit. And basically, it's divided into two aspects. One is the asuras, and one is the devas. We are the asuras. And the asuras are also known as the demons. And then you have your solar devas. Okay? We got to reiterate this stuff over and over. Now, in her material, she goes as far as to say that the asuras, which the gods say that the asuras are their arch enemies. But she goes on to say that the asuras are an older and a superior class of entities that's higher than the devas. The devas just so happen to rule the created world now. But she goes in to say that the asuras is a higher form. They go in to say that the chief god Indra, now this is what you must understand when I say about God is the enemy. Because Indra is no more than Yahweh or whatever that male deity. Jehovah. Whatever that male deity is over religion. All of that. Indra says in this This is where you gotta do. You gotta turn from these motherfuckers, other than yourself. And this is what Indra says. And this is, I think, is so profound. Indra says that we have no intention of raising man up to us, or the asuras. Now you got to break this thing down. Asura, they say that asuras are demons. Demons only mean bound gods, or bound deities. Okay? I don't want to use the word gods. They are bound deities. Once a deity is bound, it becomes a concealed demon. Now, the only way that you can be bound, only way you can bind a demon or a deity is encase him into a human, he or she into a human body. So that means that our souls are demonic in nature. I'm not talking about in the wicked form that you know of. You getting this? I want to get this. Satan is bound. You ever hear Satan being bound? When you bind something, you can only bind something when you place it in a human existence. So the asuras are the demons. And what makes them demons? What did I say? They're bound in a human body. So that means that man is the asura. Man is the demon. Satan is bound. That means that man is Satan. Okay? You got to get this. To know what side. These lines got to be drawn. You cannot no longer fuck with nobody in heaven. This is very key. Now, you can listen to me and all, because I'm telling you, ain't no other motherfucker out here going to explain this shit. I'm not jacking myself. I'm just telling you and stuff like that. No. My key is to produce results. I care nothing about speaking. I got on this thing to know. The science is to know. And I report my research after I do it. You see what I'm saying? So it has, believe me when I tell you this. Now, one thing I can say about this and all, you hear a lot of things and people tell you that their shit is the right way. But there's one thing you can make sure on it. The stuff I talk about, you don't hear from nobody else. And I'm not saying this here stuff to say, because you know, everything, let's get the science on it, and you say you heard that before. But ask yourself, everybody that's come your way up to now that's teaching you some stuff is always talking on the level of good. And I'm not doing that. Positive, good, I'm the Messiah and follow me, and all that kind of shit. You get where I'm coming from? Yeah. Now here I am talking on the stuff called evil mythology. The level of evil. You understand what I'm saying? And I said we've been doing 2 years of the dark side. And we deal with scholarship on this. So the point here is, you must understand the lines have to be defined here. The solar divas, and this is what Indra says, we will fool them to the end of the day to make them think that they're going to heaven. But our intention is to never, ever bring them to where we are. As a matter of fact, when Wendy O'Flaherty translate the divas and those gods, as she says, the gods, or God, their function, their primary function is to be an enemy of the asura. You hear this shit here? So, what we got over the course of years is we have got, in the last 2,000-3,000 years, is we got God, or the God, translating a new human mythology to make you worship them and you to hate yourself. That's right. They say that we have no intention. This is what the Sanskrit says, of raising them up to where we are. As a matter of fact, how they are able to survive is through us in this aspect. They were created by stealing some light from what is called the uncreated. And they came and these renegade people stole the light. We'll talk about this over and over again. Stole the light from a certain sector of the omniverse, came in and created this world. Then later on, that particular light was stolen from them and put back in us. So they become only an image of memory and a thought process that can only be manifested and kept alive if the original source, the blueprint of knowledge, thinks that these particular ones exist. So they are a form of the matrix. And their goal is, because they are only an image. Remember they said that God exists through man, prayers, and God cannot exist without man. You ever heard this shit before? We are in the image of him, and he exists through the image. Okay? But if you stop thinking of them, they cease to exist. That's right. That's what, remember even in the movie, they said that the people stopped remembering Fantasia and the nothingness came. Well, it's all a part of that. As above, so below, but basically everything is in the mind of man. Because the only energy there is the original energy. And if the original energy is fooled in believing these gods exist, then they exist. You getting this? So what the gods do, the gods already put down a mythology to say that you got to worship them. They will come in, and in so many ways, they will even give you a disease in some kind of way to make you sick so you can bow down and worship them. Meanwhile, they can get the energy and they will continue to exist. And as they exist, the energy in turn heals you. Now, how does that happen? These gods only exist in one form. Let me explain this. The divas, which is the matrix. The matrix is nothing more than this. There is no universe, ain't none of that shit. The matrix is nothing but the human brain. That's all the God is. And this human brain can only give you the physical matrix. Up under the brain is the true God of the universe, the pineal gland. And the other gland in this particular part, which is the kingdom of hell. That's the devil. Or evil. Or heaven, hell. The upper realm, the underworld. As above, so below. You getting this? Now, the key here is these divas in this brain gives you sight with these two physical eyes, which shuts down the activity to this thing here. Fools, this pineal gland is covered in darkness. These solar divas are only circuits in the fucking brain. That God that you worship is only circuits in the brain. And he says, I am the God of the living and not the dead. What is the God of the dead? The God of the dead is dead and buried. It's up under. It's the pineal brain. Even the staff of Tahuti. They say the inner knowledge. This is right here is the pineal gland. The next thing up under that is the kundalini energy and the serpent, the chakras, and all that stuff is the land of the dragon. You see, is the land of the dragon. So the solar order is the order that came about in creation. The solar order is a later day order. Before the solar order existed the kings of Edom. The kings of Edom. Now, in the Gershom Scrolling books, in the mystical sphere of the Godhead, in the chapter, the Sitra Aura. Now this is interesting, and I got some notes. In another Zohar, they go and say that the Sitra Aura, which is supposed to be hell realm, the demonic realm, and Satan's realm. In one of the books I have, a Kabbalah I have, they go as far as to say that the Sitra Aura, or what you call hell realm, is nothing but the substance of alchemy. Melanin, this night breed or this night substance. Now, in this particular book, in the Sitra Aura, he said there's two trees in the Garden of Eden. There's the tree of knowledge and the tree of life. And he says the man stands in between the middle. The tree of life is the circuit of this brain up here. And they say you have a choice. The choice you have is this. The tree of knowledge is the hell realm of the outer universe. And it said man has a choice. He can be obedient and study the laws of the Torah and submit to God. You see what I'm saying? Or he can engage in various acts of sin, sex, lust, other enjoyment, disobedientness, not following the damn rules, and he can give over to the tree of death, the tree of knowledge, and destroy the known universe. So what are they saying is this here? The religious laws are set up for you to be mindful of the matrix. You can have a choice. You can follow the matrix, or the religious laws set up for this particular creation, or you can follow the tree of knowledge, which is getting into the laws of alchemy and the inner workings of the primal latent substance, melanin, and can destroy the known universe. You have a choice. You see what I'm saying? Because, you know, Adam ate from the tree of knowledge, which also has to deal with the serpent. You see what I'm saying? And you actually have an actual choice. So the Sitra Aura is the ultimate evil, identified as melanin. You see, identified as melanin. Now, it's interesting because I want to get into a few other things here before I go back to that. Y'all bear with me. Y'all all right? Yeah. Yeah, I want to get into a few other things before we go back to that type of thing. Bear with me 1 minute. Let's see here. What we're going to get into. Oh, this is interesting. I want to give you this here too, because you know, this is interesting. I got to say that when I was in Indianapolis a couple of weeks ago, there was this African that was telling one of the brothers that they had me to come speak. He told him that in Ghana, that there was a case that was all on the news in Ghana. And this particular case was that this guy went and had sex with this prostitute. And he skipped out on paying her. And it was only like $6. I guess that's the African price or whatever. I said, well, shit, y'all need to meet up with some sisters over here. And he said, tell you how to get goddamn paid. Shit. Fucking $6. But he didn't pay her. So when he got home, he didn't have no dick, no balls, or nothing. It was smooth. He ran all out in the street hollering and stuff. You know, hollering and going crazy and stuff. And, you know, going crazy. So the police took him back around there to the prostitute. He said he was with this prostitute. And the prostitute was saying, pay me my fucking money. So he paid her the $6, and when he got home, his shit was back normal. You see what I'm saying? Which is also, I wanted to say that thing, and also because they got some real deal magic over there also too. You know, what's that?
I was on that subject. I was speaking to an African brother in Jersey City. He was saying that some people in Africa that they won't let in the country because they can shape shift. They can go through banks or
right. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, I heard that too. You see, all that is a part of the the rituals and stuff that they had over there. And they used to have thousands of these things. That's how they kept alive all those years. But over the course of years, a lot of the stuff died out. A lot of the information either was held to some families, or it just also died out. Now this is interesting. Jesus is born in a stable. Also, the three wise men come and they bear treasures. The three wise men is also the pineal and the pituitary body. Now, in the story, it goes in and says, and this is another mystery that wraps up that we are the Christ. In the story, it goes and says that the Father, in this case, gives Mary a shadow with the Christ seed in it. You see what I'm saying? So the shadow we know, the shadow that we're talking about, we know is in fact melanin. I think I talked about this before. A lot of times in the Jung psychology and all, whenever you hear the word shadow, it means melanin. Well, even in the Bible, even in some biblical literature, it talks about when he so-called made Mary pregnant. And this particular father, in actuality, is the pineal, and it has something to do with the inner aspects of Mary's own soul. You see what I'm saying? All this is mythology. It ain't got nothing to do with no real humans, no way. This is a story of melanin, and in the melanin is the Christ seed. You see, is the Christ seed. Now, also in Bentley Lake, we can prove this. I'll give you a couple of things here. We can prove this because in Bentley Layton's book, The Gnostic Scriptures, I want to read this to you. In Bentley Layton's scriptures, the Gnostic Scripture, it goes in and says, I want to read this. Y'all bear with me. It talks about the shadow, and listen what this thing says in the shadow part. 1 minute, let me get the part and all. I think I had it. All right, okay, hold on. The index, X, SH, okay, hold on 1 minute. Shadow. Okay, on page 226 in this book. 226 in the book. Oh, I had it when I first opened it up. The production of the anointed Christ and the shadow. So what this is talking about, number one, I have proven it in actuality. Number one, it says the production of the anointed Christ and the shadow. The shadow is always known as also Satan. Do I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I should feel no evil or whatever. They talk about the prince of darkness and all this type of thing. And we'll prove that Jesus and Satan is one and the same because it talks about the production of the anointed Christ. Well, I have said over and over again that the anointing oil is iron. You heard me talk about the oil is carbon. And also olives are black and green, also carbon. Well, in the Bentley Layton, he proves it. And furthermore, the anointed Christ was emitted from eons of the fullness of the full realm, or what they call, and rather he and a shadow was engendered by the mother according to her memory of the superior realm when she was on the outside of the fullness. And since he was a male cut off from the shadow, removing it from himself, he hastened to hasten up into the fullness. So what does this mean? This particular melanin that we're talking about and stuff is called a shadow. It is the free substance before creation. When this particular aspect is alchemy, it's alchemy, and what it is dealing with here is dealing with the process of this. And see it when you see the yin and the yang symbol, especially the dark side, where you see the dark side here, and you'll see this particular symbol, which later on becomes the manifested black dot. All of this is the same thing. Whenever you see this symbol here, you know what I'm saying, and you see that little white dot in the middle, inside of the melanin is a little white seed or a dot. That is the Christ and that is the soul. What this is also saying is this, that in order for you to have a soul, it is this soul that produces that dark substance. It's about like when you see a flame of fire and you rub it across this wall with a flame of fire. What happens to this wall? Soot comes on this wall. That's how, if you wanted to make write some soot thing, or you take a flame of fire, and that flame of fire would make this particular soot. So it's just like Blavatsky says in her book, No Shadow, No God. You see what I'm saying? The shadow and the Christ, or the shadow and that particle of light that you call the light of Christ, is one and the same. You see what I'm saying? It is one and the same. So when they say that he put a shadow in her, he was putting the Christ in her. So this is metaphysical to talk about the same aspects of the Christ. And I'll give you some other examples in a few minutes. Now, it's interesting because, remember I was telling you about my brother had to go, he had to take the baby urn to the water and dump it in the flowing water. Do you know that the soul that is in that urn, when you shut that soul up in that urn, do you know, let me explain this to you. When you die, your spirit leaves, which ain't nothing but the energy that animates all living things on the physical earth. Same spirit that's in white people. Same spirit that's in the roaches. It's the same spirit that's in the skunks and the rats. It just animates the physical plane and gives you life on the physical plane. That's what makes the matrix work. Everything has spirit. White people have spirit. The soul is something totally different. The soul is a pre-creation substance. Our world was built off of several other prior worlds. That's what the soul is. That's why it tells you in the Bible that the ones that they're coming back from are the ones that were slain at the foundation of the earth in Revelation. Okay? So that means the soul is also its own universe. And that's the other world, and that's why we got to talk about the death realm also in a few minutes. Now, whenever you die, your spirit leaves. And the ego that thinks that you are something else other than this soul, that leaves. Your soul remains in the body. Your soul does not leave until the body totally decomposes. Even when you burn the body up and shut the ashes in the urn, or what they put it in, that soul is still down in that urn. The soul is a whole other universe, and it can stay in that particular urn. And it will be trapped in that urn until you unleash it, just like you're trapped in the physical body. You getting this? So when my brother, when they was telling me he had to unleash this thing, they was actually talking about he had to unleash her actual soul. You see what I'm saying? And it can be trapped there for years, thousands of years. Now, the Egyptians, they understood that whenever you die the physical way, you can go up and your soul can go up after the body decomposes, and the gods can put it right back in another body and give it a new brain, and then by the time it goes through childhood, the brain has to develop. You will forget all that you used to be. And you used to be an advanced scholar of the universe. But you can forget all that shit and end out of here on the corner and shit. You see what I'm saying? With some crack rocks in your hand. If life ain't good to you. And based on what color you are. Okay? Now, so the Egyptians, or the Hemmites, had a way of fooling the actual process, because they were masters at this thing. So when they mummified the body, if the body stayed intact, and they mummified the body, and the soul can only leave the body when the body decomposes. You get it? Mm-hmm. Then they could mummify the body, and the soul could stay in the body until the end days, and it can keep the knowledge that it already has and doesn't have to go into another body and go through all this bullshit walking around like an idiot. You see what I'm saying? So they had that kind of science. You see, there's a good book out to try to learn some of this stuff. It's a book called by Paul Barber, B-A-R-B-E-R. B-A-R-B-E-R, Paul Barber, Vampires, Burials, and Death, Folklore and Reality. Vampires, Burials, and Death, Folklore and Reality. Now I want to read something to you on page 107 to try to understand something here. Because we get into this particular death side. I want to read something, I think, let's see, 107 or 108. I want to read this to you. Hold on 1 minute. Yeah, okay, it's talking about the shadow. It's talking about the shadow. According to Raymond Jameson, the belief that life essence is frequently referred to by the observers as the soul. It says it is implicit that in the shadows have been reported from all parts of the world. Tasmania, Africa, North, South America, Asia, and Europe, in the account that belief that the Negrinum tribe in Talbot reports that a shadow is cast by a live man is really the shape of the soul, which is within him. So they're saying that this shadow that's cast by you is nothing but a form of your soul that's also on the inside of you. Now it's leading to something here. Y'all all right? Mm-hmm. Through the compressed time into a small space. In the Greek word skia, and the Latin word umbra shows the relationship between the soul and the shadow. Ovid refers to Plato's umbrum, Rex, as the king of shades in the New Kingdom Egypt, the defunct soul is distinctly identified with the shadow, which symbolizes a silhouette of the body in the hieroglyph of a parcel, or whatever this means. He's trying to build a case, because trying to build a case is when he's dealing with this. And he goes through this whole thing about Romanian folklore, and he's getting ready to deal with something in a few minutes. And he concludes that certain Muslim gypsies, well, here go this word again. They'll use the word Muslim gypsies and they'll use the word Moor. Now let me break this down. Are said to believe that a vampire is a dead person's shadow. Now, first of all, Muslim, he's talking about the Moors. So this whole Dracula thing, in the house of Dracula, is nothing. Okay, there's a real person called Vlad, which is a Dracula, real actual person. But the folklore of Bram Stoker's Dracula is talking about nothing but the Moor. You see? And the Moor takes on the characteristics of the Osirian mythology. Now let me explain this also. In the book, his name is Lawrence Gardner's book, and it's called The Great Genesis of the Grail King. In that book, he's explaining that melatonin is night substance, and he said it comes out at night, and he said that particular melatonin is called the Prince of Darkness. And he also talks about that Dracula is also called the Prince of Darkness, and he gives an article in Nexus magazine alluding to this whole melatonin thing. And he says it's the original Prince of Darkness and all that type of stuff. Now in the book, the Genesis of the Grail King, he goes in and says that the house of Dracula, that the people are talking about in mythology, is actually talking about that these particular ones in the house of Dracula knew the mysteries of melatonin and serotonin. He gives that in the actual book. Now, in this Paul Barber's book, Vampires, Burials, and Death, he goes in and says that Muslim gypsies or Moors are said to believe that a vampire is a dead person's shadow. You see what I'm saying? So we're also talking about melanin. You see what I'm saying? We're not talking about eating people. That's another form of vampire that white people are doing to get melanin. But the whole concept of Dracula, an immortal being that lives forever. You see what I'm saying? In a tomb, which is Osiris casket or Jesus casket. All this is connected. You see what I'm saying? And you can get a glimpse of that in the whole thing if you get Anne Rice's Vampire Encyclopedia. Her Vampire Encyclopedia, she goes through all this shit up in there, but she also goes in and says that the origin of her particular Dracula, the origin of her vampire, which is the goddess Kali. Her vampire is called Kali, the queen of the dead in Egypt. Her whole origin of that vampire comes from an entity that entered into her body called melanin. And that Armel took over the body, and thus she becomes the first vampire. So Paul Barber is saying in this particular book that the shadow he's connecting the shadow also with the vampire, which also is with the whole Jesus mythology. He's buried in a tomb, just like Dracula, and the motherfucker walks in 3 days. You understand what I'm saying? He got a whole bunch of women around him like Dracula does, and anoints your ass with the Holy Ghost, which is the blood of Dracula. All this is the melanin mystery. They crucify him, but if you go get the movie Vampire, get the John Carpenter's Vampire, and in that doggone movie John Carpenter's Vampire, they talk about this priest, which Jesus was a priest, and they crucified him. The church crucified his ass. And what happened? He raised up. Because he wasn't dead. He was a vampire. He was a master vampire. He was trying to get the Black Cross. The Black Cross is this shit here. It's all in the movie Vampire. He was trying to get the Black Cross. John Carpenter's Vampire. The Black Cross is the staff of Tahuti. That's the damn Black Cross. And they said if he completes the ritual, he will walk in daylight forever. Bossy, you got that book? You took it out to the car, the Unknown Spirit. Yeah. Because I put the little piece into the John Carpenter Vampire. It's in the movie. That person was fucking Osiris, the master vampire. The master vampire. And the priest, what the church was trying to stop him. They say, because if he complete the ritual, the vampires will walk from day and forever. So it says that the future of mankind rests at the hands of the master vampire slayer Jack Crow as he moves to the present moves to prevent a master vampire from reaching the ultimate goal for the legions of the dead, the ability to walk in daylight. You see what I'm saying? The ability to walk in the daylight. Now this shit is all breaking down to the year 2000. It's all a part of this shit. Now go back and get the movie Blade. The movie Blade, they had them 12 old ancient vampires. That all represents this melanin, and they had to harness their energy in the circle so that they can bring about the blood god. Now, what these crackers is going to do on New Year's night going to be the final end of their ass. I'll explain this shit. You got to understand this stuff. This is all relation to it. Go and get the movie Blade, because they're gonna do this shit on New Year's night. On New Year's night, they're gonna, because we always knew they were gonna meet at the pyramid on 1999, but we didn't know why. They're gonna meet there to put the old capstone back on the pyramid. Now, this capstone, remember I told you the stone that the builders rejected will become the cornerstone? The cornerstone or the stone they're talking about is called the philosopher's stone. The philosopher's stone is the whole pineal gland and basically the black dot and all of that shit illuminated to the Christ. Our Jesus Christ, our Lord Jesus Christ upon this rock. Here's the stone, the rock of ages. You see what I'm saying? They always talk about rebuilding the temple of Jerusalem. The original temple of Jerusalem is a goddamn great pyramid. Because there wasn't never no goddamn temple in no fucking Jerusalem. The original temple of Jerusalem, this is the temple of Jerusalem, the damn chakra system in the body. is the temple of Jerusalem. Jerusalem, the top one is the third eye, which is Jerusalem, Heru in peace. Jerusalem, Jerusalem. You see what I'm saying? The seven chakras or whatever the deal is the temple, or it could also be the Kabbalah, because that's also the tree, and all that stuff is the damn temple. Or the temple of Jerusalem is also this, you know, which is the Kundalini energy, the DNA, and all that in the staff of Tahuti. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to put the top piece on the temple of Jerusalem, which is the capstone. And you'll see some of the capstone, they'll show a picture of the eye of Heru on the capstone. Which means in actuality, the capstone also represents Isis and Osiris joined, which is called Ku, or pyramid, which is talking about union. So they're going to put this thing, it's all in the movie where they got them all gathered around the pyramids, and they're going to put this damn capstone back on. But what's going to happen was, remember even in the movie Ten Commandments, Moses said, next time you judge me, it's going to be at your own fucking hands. And even in Star Wars, they said that your confidence will be your undoing. You see what I'm saying? It's even in the movie Hobbit, little Bilbo Baggins, which represents the Twa Man. Goes in there and he's just bragging, oh, you're just so great. Well, you know, that's how the white man is. All the world want to be like him. Africans want to be like him. The Asians want to be like him. Everybody want to be like him. So he is the love of the planet. But he thinks now, because of his confidence that whatever he does, he's going to be all right. Because he know them gods up there want him, because those gods can only exist if the physical exists. And we keep this human brain, this matrix. So therefore, he even got the gods to do it. That's why they put that motherfucker down here. You see what I'm saying? So one of the keys here is, and so now he's biting off too much, because ultimately, there's so many rituals, they figure that what they see, their goal is if we put the capstone back on, it represents something in the past. But if we put the capstone back on, it means that we can extend our time down here on the physical. But what you don't realize is this is the pyramid was not built as symbolic of the Egyptians in Egyptian civilization. The pyramids was built as a symbology of the heavens, of the belt of Orion, and that it predated the physical earth and creation. So when they put this motherfucker back on, you see what I'm saying? That's going to polarize the damn energies. And the blood god will return. Which the blood god, melanin exists in the blood. So the replacement, so the stone of the Egyptian god image, the replacement of the heart stone is associated with the Ben stone. And the Ben stone is in Heliopolis is the phoenix. And the phoenix is also, as you know, that's the Christ. All that is the eye of Heru and the phoenix, the falcon. Is the phoenix. The phoenix of the Ben stone is also called the Bendu seed. And the Bendu seed is that seed that is inside the lower intestinal tract of your body. So when they place this damn shit back on here, all hell gonna break loose. You see what I'm saying? But they're gonna do it because they are confident. You see what I'm saying? So the Ben stone in Egyptian is also the alchemical philosopher's stone, which is Christos. So they're doing the job for our ass. Right. You see what I'm saying? They're doing the damn job for our ass. How many people was it? Was it 9 in Blade, the Council of 9, or was it 12? Yeah, whatever the deal is, that whole ceremony that they was doing and shit, to bring on the blood god is going to bring back the blood god in us. So the replacement of the capstone of the Great Pyramids and the crossover 1999 to 1992 is the symbolic raising of the philosopher's stone, the Christ, Osiris, etc. See what I'm saying? It's the Christ, Osiris, etc. So it was in the movie Blade when they did that particular science like that. Well, it's the same thing of the Black Cross also too in the movie Vampires. But in the movie they tried to stop both of them from doing this shit. You see what I'm saying? From doing it. So either way, and it doesn't matter if they put the damn shit on or not. 2,000 seasons, we are revealing this stuff as it goes on. But we have to get to the ultimate reality in a few minutes. Let me just go on. Let me just deal with some stuff right now so you can understand something. Now, in The in the latent scriptures, they tell you, they say most people think that Jesus died and then he was illuminated. In the latent scriptures, they say you illuminate first and then you die. So the illumination is we are gaining this particular knowledge. Death is the ultimate prize, the final solution. We'll get into that type of thing, but we're not talking about no apple white where you go kill yourself. You see what I'm saying? But there's a way, there's a shortcut from that shit too. Anyway, either way we talk about a date with death. That's the key here. We'll get into that science in a few minutes. And I'll explain why this is so important. The book of law tells you you must love death and you must long for death.
Yes.
Tells you in the book of the law. You see what I'm saying? Also had it, which is your particular black seed or the black dot or the third eye. It's called the Hadit principle. It's also called the Ka'abit of a shadow. All of that stuff is the same, and it's talking about your inner soul. It says in the third book, in the second book of the law, to know me is to know death.
The knowledge of me is the knowledge of death.
The knowledge of me is the knowledge of death. That's what it says. You're right. The knowledge of me is the knowledge of death. Now, so now this is very key that you understand this particular part. Now, obviously we're talking about getting back to the original origin of us, which is the original origin of the universe. Okay? Well, why is it when you read the Upanishads, in the Bible, they say in the beginning there was darkness, or in the Greek thing, it's in the beginning there was chaos. In the Upanishads, they say in the beginning there was death. It said in the beginning there was death. That's in the Upanishad. You see what I'm saying? Morpheus that you see of in the Matrix movie is also called the god of sleep. In the Quran, they tell you when you sleep, you are dead. There's several books on death and dreams. So we go to that realm also too. So the death realm at first was dead. And in the same time, now it also goes in and says in the Upanishads and all, it said, and I want to quote it, it said, death that lived in the same time with the living. Now I'm saying, what the hell do they mean by that? It says, at one time, death lived in the same world as the living. I was trying to figure that out. How can death live in the same world as the living? Now I'm explaining to what this thing means. Our soul, in the realm of our soul, the melanin, the chakras, and everything on the inside of us is called the realm of the dead, or the realm of the night. So it is possible that death does live in the same world as the living, because our outer self is the living. Or in this case, the pineal gland and that whole 9 yards is the death realm, and the brain is the god of the living. So in both man, we have both the realm of the living, which is what you go through here, which is the matrix, the illusion, and we have the realm of the death. But as they also say that the kings of Edom that ruled before the one king of Israel, which is that primal world, before you had the creation world, they say, in the tree of life is in the back of the tree. Now the back of the tree, which is supposed to be the dark side of the tree, which you know of as the tree of knowledge, it also says in the Kabbalah that that back of the tree will become the future. And in Gershom Scholem, which is one of the top scholars of Tel Aviv, they said, well, what do you think about all this Kabbalah and all that shit? What's going to happen? He said, ultimately, we're going to return back to chaos. You see, now, we going, but we're going to get into this in a few minutes. I just want to do some things here right now before I go to some other stuff. Y'all all right? Now, the mystery of the mystery of this thing is that the brain has no longer the power to hold us down. It's dissipating. And in the Rigveda, they say that the chief function of the gods our God, is that he causes illusion. And the chief function of man, and he is called the dupe. He's duped into believing that that illusion is a reality, and he suffers in a game of the gods as a slave in a jailhouse. And the human brain is created by the gods to bring this goddamn illusion about, or the archangels. So now, let's break this down. The archangels is the divas, the solar divas. And those solar divas in the solar order only exist in the creation of this particular universe, which is creation. In this case, they reside in the human brain and make all of this world possible for you that doesn't exist unless what is reality? And he said, is that chair real? Is that the wiring of your brain that's telling you that chair is real and stuff? So each circuit of the brain that gives you the reality is an archangel, the seraphim. We are the cherubim.
Right.
The difference. There's the seraphim, we are the cherubim. Y'all getting this? So each realm of that human brain that lights up the day is the solar divas. That's the archangels. Those are our motherfucking enemies. We are the cherubim, which is called the demon. You see, so there's two counterparts. There's the greater key of Solomon, there's the lesser key of Solomon. The greater key of Solomon goes with the archangels, and that is the brain that we live in this particular universe. The lesser key of Solomon is called the Goetia, or the demons of Solomon. And those are the ones of who the fuck we are. A demon is a bound entity or deity. You see what I'm saying? So the archangels are nothing but sections of the brain that fool you into thinking that this shit is real, and they keep us down. You see? Whereas we are the cherubim, which is the demonic of the demon realm that resides in the underworld, or the night breed. And all it means, demon means a bound person. So if you have a physical body, you are a demon. And your enemy is the archangels. You see, all the stuff, all you got to do is study. Now let's go on. Let's go on. I got a few things I want to deal with. I want to deal with right now. A few things. Hold on 1 minute. Because even in the book Angel's Message to Humanity, there's a book by Betty and Gerald Schuler, Angel's Message to Humanity. When they did this whole thing where they took this Enochian stuff and they put it all together, when they put it all together, they said it all came down to a chaos cube. And the chaos cube was the message to humanity, and that particular cube is the black dot that's inside of us that we know of as melanin. You see what I'm saying? And then when they, on page 233 in the book, they talk about the Kundalini goddess, which is also Sekhmet, which is the death dragon. It says it is actually a chaotic created potential, which is yet wild and untamed. This is the Kundalini power that resides in the tablet of chaos. So in so many words, the same Kundalini energy which is inside of us now, you got to understand, the serpent is the Kundalini energy inside of us, and the head of the serpent is the pineal gland. So what they're saying, that Betty and Gerald Schuster is saying, based on their particular working with these deities, is the same evil serpent energy that you call Satan is the Kundalini energy that resides in the tablet of chaos. So we're talking about here is the very essence of who we are, is literally the very essence that the Bible and all of the ancient religions say is evil. You see what I'm saying? The very essence of these particular things is who we say we are. Now going on, we got some solutions, so don't worry about it.
Okay, come on.
So every black person becomes Osiris after he dies. Osiris being the Christ, you must die to finally become Osiris. Make no bones about it. You got to get rid of the physical body. So you got to get the dying or get the living. That's what they told you in Shawshank Redemption. But in this goddamn case, we getting the dying. Once you go through death, You don't have to really worry about no shit no more. And even in the book, The Powers of Darkness by the guy Richard Cavendish, which is a book that they put out, the book The Black Arts. They put out one right after that called The Powers of Darkness. The Black Arts came out before The Powers of Darkness, The Powers of Evil. The Black Arts came out, and you can still get the Black Arts, they still print it, but you can't get The Powers of Evil. The Black Arts came out before. And in The Powers of Evil, they talk about this particular thing, that everything that man is dealing with is he's trying to doggone stave off or stay off or trying to put off the inevitabilities of death. You see what I'm saying? And so in actuality, and basically that's the Western mind that don't understand death. The Canaanites, that's what they were preoccupied because they understood that that is the only dimension that we are going to go to. And they put all this shit down here for us to doggone understand, but yet we trying to get to living. You see what I'm saying? So now, you must die to become Osiris, not ascend. Because all these people are talking about this ascension bullshit. And Juju used to tell me a long time, and he said, you send all the fuck you want. I ain't going to goddamn place. If the kingdom in the Kabbalah that we've shown over and over again is down at the bottom, what the fuck you gonna ascend to? That don't even exist no more. So not to ascend to the cosmos, you see what I'm saying? But to get the prize in alchemy is the alchemical body of death. Now, is the alchemical body of death. Even the word cosmos, when they translate the word cosmos in Egyptian, it means plane. And astral plane, when you translate the word plane, it means illusion. Now this is the key. Now let me explain this to you because a lot of people are confused. I had to explain this to the people up in Detroit. They got a brother there named Vishnu and a couple other people, and they're doing all this meditation. But I said, you know, and I often had problems with this. How is it them monks and all that is doing all that damn meditation and motherfuckers are still catching hell? Obviously, meditation can't be the key. And I couldn't figure the shit out when I was young in this thing. And all this meditation, and they talk about the Dalai Lama, and they talk about all these goddamn yogis. I'm like, well, Bangladesh is one of the worst ghettos and most poverty in America. So what are all these yogi masters? And then I figured it out. The yogi masters are separated from the original Vedic people, which in actuality is the Dravidians. It's a whole nother system. Now, when they meditate, and they do all of this work, if you do that work, and you do not tap into a system of death, which is the ultimate reality, what happens is you go up on these planes, you're only going on the astral plane. So the yogis that they talk about, which is ascended masters, when you ascend, you're only ascending to the astral plane, and the astral plane is a part of the matrix. We are only talking about the physical matrix when we talk about the earth. But what we don't realize, there's different aspects of the matrix. This entire universe is the matrix. So when they ascend and go up on these astral planes and call themselves ascended masters, they are only into another form of the matrix. Because the real world, or the world that to come, like the Kabbalah say, the world to come of the kingdom of Osiris, is at the bottom of the Kabbalah, which is called Malkuth Earth.